I sit at my small desk in my tiny apartment, staring at the computer screen. My name is Jessica, and I work as an administrative assistant in a busy office. I am 26 years old. I often feel nervous at work. Every day, I worry about making mistakes. I know I should be more confident, but I find it hard. I grew up in a small town where everyone knew each other. My parents worked hard, but they never had much money. They taught me to try my best in everything, but I still don't always feel good enough. My colleagues are friendly, but I feel like I do not fit in. They often talk about their weekends and make jokes. I smile and laugh along, but I feel alone. I like to work quietly. I enjoy organizing things nicely, but I sometimes struggle to speak up in meetings. When my boss asks a question, my heart races. What if I say something wrong? After work, I read books about self-improvement. I want to be stronger and more confident. I always dreamed of being promoted to a higher position, but fear holds me back. I admire my boss, Ms. Richards. She is intelligent and strong. She knows how to lead the team. I would love to be like her one day. On weekends, I go to a small cafe nearby. I enjoy sitting there with a warm cup of coffee and a book. It is one of my few escapes from the worries of my job. Lately, I have been thinking about my fear. I want to make a change. I want to speak in meetings and share my thoughts. I know that if I can learn to be braver, I can help my team. Recently, there was a project meeting where I had an idea. It was a simple idea, but I was too scared to say anything. I watched my teammates suggest their ideas confidently. The project moved forward without my input, and I felt sad afterward. This made me realize that I miss opportunities when I do not speak up. I understand that my fear of failure holds me back. I want to remember that everyone makes mistakes. It is not the end of the world. I hope to learn that it's okay to be wrong sometimes. I believe growing is part of life. My journey starts now. I must learn to communicate better and believe in my work. This change will not happen overnight, but I am ready to try. My goal is to express my ideas and help my colleagues. I want to become a team player and build connections with them, even if it feels difficult at first. As I look ahead, I feel a small spark of hope. I want to push through my anxiety and embrace new challenges. I tell myself that it is okay to be afraid. Each time I take a step forward, I feel stronger. Today is the day I will begin this journey. I can learn to speak up at work. I can learn to share my voice and ideas. I will not let fear stop me any longer. I am ready for the next chapter of my story. As the days went by, I hoped to feel more confident at work, but things started to change. A toxic atmosphere crept into our office with a new team member, Jake. He sat near me and quickly made his mark. At first, I thought he was funny and charming. However, I soon saw a different side of him. He often teased others, and I felt uncomfortable. Jake made jokes at my expense, and they felt like sharp daggers. One day, during a team meeting, he pointed at my notes and laughed. "Does everyone understand Jessica's messy writing?" he said loudly. My face turned red. I wanted to hide. The laughter of the team stung my heart. The humiliation did not stop there. Whenever Jake needed to take a dig, I seemed to be his target. He would say little things like, "Jessica is doing her best," with a smirk. I doubted myself more after every insult. It felt like a game to him. I saw how my colleagues looked at him with admiration, but I felt small. My stomach twisted with anxiety whenever I had to interact with him. I feared my ideas would be mocked again. The pressure of his presence added weight to each workday. My boss, Ms. Richards, was busy managing everyone's tasks. I liked her, but I wondered if she saw what was happening. One afternoon, I approached her to share my new ideas about a project. I needed to be brave. I practiced my speech, hoping to sound confident. But before I could begin, Jake stepped forward. "You shouldn't waste time on Jessica's ideas," he interrupted. "They are just plans that will never work." The chilling laughter from our colleagues surrounded me once again. I felt my heart sink. In that moment, I felt trapped. I wanted to speak up. I wanted to defend myself, but fear wrapped around my voice. Ms. Richards nodded but didn't say anything to Jake. I left her office feeling defeated, doubting my worth again. Days went by, and I kept thinking about the situation. My mind was filled with doubts. I felt alone in this toxic environment. Even my weekends at the cafe could not help me recharge, as the shadows of my worries followed me everywhere. I kept asking myself, why me? What am I doing wrong? Deep down, I knew I had to find a way to stand tall. During lunch, my friend Emma noticed my worries. "You're not alone, Jessica," she said gently. "You are smart and capable. Don't let Jake's words bring you down." Her words were comforting, but it felt hard to believe them sometimes. I decided I needed to be stronger and not allow Jake to control how I felt at work. I started thinking of ways to stand up for myself. I wanted to show everyone that his words did not define me. Each time my heart raced at the thought of facing Jake, I reminded myself to be brave. I refused to let his negativity take over. I discovered that the only voice that mattered was my own. My journey to rise above this challenge was just beginning, and I was ready to embrace it, even if it scared me. Standing up for myself became my next goal. I needed to believe that I could overcome this obstacle and make a positive change in my work life. As the days turned into weeks, the stress at work increased. My heart felt heavy almost all the time. Jake's comments did not stop, they grew sharper, and I became more anxious. Every time I entered the office, I felt an uneasy weight in my stomach. I often worried about what he would say next. In the morning meetings, I sat quietly, hoping he would not look my way. Each laugh from my colleagues felt like a reminder of my fears. The team spirit I once enjoyed slowly vanished. I felt like an outsider in a place I used to love. My work started to suffer. I had trouble focusing. Simple tasks, like organizing meetings or sending emails, took forever. I worried that my mistakes would bring more laughter and more teasing. Ms. Richards noticed I was not my usual self. She asked me if everything was okay. I wanted to tell her about Jake, but my voice faltered. I kept saying I was fine, even though I felt anything but. Each day, I battled a storm of self-doubt that clouded my mind. One Friday afternoon, everything came crashing down. During lunch, I decided to sit alone at my desk. I needed space to think. I took my sandwich and stared blankly at my computer screen. That is when I overheard Jake speaking with some colleagues. "Jessica thinks she can be better at this job. She is just a scared little girl." The laughter that followed was like a knife in my heart. My chest tightened. I felt completely alone. There was no escape from the negativity surrounding me. The thought of quitting plagued my mind. I wondered if it would be easier to walk away than to face another day with Jake. What if I found another job where I could feel happy and safe? But what if I failed there too? My thoughts kept swirling in a confusing mess. Even though a small part of me wanted to fight back, I feared what would happen if I did. Isolation weighed heavily on my heart. I used to enjoy talking to my colleagues, but now I felt afraid to join conversations. I questioned my abilities constantly. Am I good enough for this job? I pondered. Will anyone respect me if I stay? The voices of my self-doubt echoed louder than the laughter from Jake. I felt like I was losing my grip. That evening, I went home feeling lost and exhausted. I sat quietly in my small apartment, hugging my knees to my chest. I missed the confident version of myself. I thought about times when I was proud of my work and shared my ideas. Those times felt far away now. My heart wanted to be strong, but my head was filled with doubts. As I reflected on my situation, I had a choice to make. I could let Jake's words crush my spirit, or I could take a stand. I clung to that small spark of hope deep inside of me. I wished for a way to regain my confidence and find my passion for my work again. I knew this was just a moment in my journey. My mind began to settle. I put pen to paper and wrote down my feelings. It was the start of my decision to not back down. This was my story, and I would not let anyone write it for me. I still had a long way to go, but I felt a tiny glimmer of strength stirring inside me. I was ready to find my voice again and take steps toward change. The day of the big project presentation arrived, and my stomach was in knots. I had worked hard on this project and wanted to prove myself. But as I walked into the meeting room, I felt the tension hanging thick in the air. Jake was there, leaning back in his chair with a smug smile. I could feel my heart pounding. I didn't just want this to go well, I needed it to go well. This project was important to me. It was my chance to show I could be a valuable member of the team. As I began my presentation, I saw my hands shaking slightly. I took a deep breath and spoke, trying to keep my voice steady. I explained my ideas with all the passion I could muster. Just as I started to feel confident, Jake interrupted. "What a waste. This won't work. Are you sure you understand the task, Jessica?" His words ripped through me like a sharp knife, cutting deep. My confidence crumbled, and I felt corners of my face heat up from embarrassment. The laughter around the table echoed in my ears, drowning out my thoughts. Trying to regain my composure, I took a deep breath. I wanted to fight back. "Actually, I believe my approach can bring good results. I've put in a lot of work," I replied, but my voice shook. Now, it felt harder to stay brave. My colleagues turned to Jake, eager to laugh with him, and I felt so alone in that moment. I questioned my worth. Maybe I did not understand the task. Maybe I was not good enough after all. Then, it happened. While the room buzzed with chatter, Ms. Richards entered. I felt hopeful. Maybe she could help. But before I could speak, Jake continued his rant. "Jessica always plays it safe. She never takes risks. That's why this project will fail." My heart sank. The room turned to me, waiting for a response. I felt trapped. Would I stay silent again or stand my ground this time? The pressure was overwhelming. How had it come to this? I had wanted to be brave, yet here I was, falling apart. In that moment, everything changed. I could feel a fire ignite within me. No more running. I had worked too hard to let Jake's words push me down. Suddenly, I stood up straighter. "You're wrong, Jake. I may take my time, but every good idea needs thought. I am not afraid to try," I shouted, surprising even myself. My heart raced, and I felt every eye on me. With each word, my anger rose, bubbling over. "You may laugh, but I believe in my work, and I will not let your bullying stop me." My voice broke slightly, but I pushed through. The room was silent, shocked but paying attention now. In that moment, I felt free. Bold words poured from my heart, and I refused to let fear hold me back any longer. The anger turned into a wave of confidence as I took control of the room. I shared my ideas without fear. I saw the surprise on my colleagues' faces. I was finally speaking my truth. Though Jake stood at the front, I felt stronger than before, ready to face whatever came next. This was my moment, and I would seize it. The fear that once drowned me was finally lifting. It was an important turning point, and I knew I could shape my story after all. As I finished my outburst, silence filled the room. It felt like time stood still. I had said what I needed to say, but a mixture of fear and regret began to wash over me. Jake's expression changed from smugness to anger, and I felt shaken. Ms. Richards looked surprised, her eyes wide. She hadn't expected me to speak up like that. I realized I had shocked everyone, including myself. Even though I had found my voice, a wave of panic crashed over me. I took a step back, my heart racing with anxiety. What had I just done? Maybe it was wrong to say those things, and deep down, guilt started creeping in. I felt like a fool standing alone in front of my colleagues. My mind raced with questions. Had I ruined my chances at being taken seriously? Would I face consequences for my outburst? Feeling trapped, I caught sight of Jake glaring at me. The anger in his eyes made my heartbeat quicken. "You think you can just scream like that and be taken seriously?" he shot back, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "You'll never get anywhere with that attitude." His words felt like a punch in the gut, and I suddenly wanted to disappear. Anxiety tightened its grip around me, squeezing the air from my lungs. I turned away from the group, fighting back tears. I felt defeated, as if I'd stepped onto a stage only to realize that I was unprepared. I had hoped to feel empowered, but now it felt as though I had turned the spotlight on myself for all the wrong reasons. I quickly gathered my belongings and left the meeting room. The eyes of my colleagues burned into me as I walked out. Alone in the bathroom, I leaned against the wall and closed my eyes. I let the cool tiles rest against my forehead, trying to calm my breathing. Doubts flooded my mind. Did I ruin my chance for the promotion? Would others view me as weak for losing my temper? The guilt churned in my stomach. I didn't want to be the person who lashed out, but I felt cornered. As I stood there, leaning against the wall, shame washed over me. I kept thinking about how my words had stunned everyone. I felt more lost than before. What if I couldn't recover from this moment? What if they decided that I was not fit for the team? A lump formed in my throat as I grappled with this storm of emotions. I wanted to run away and hide from it all, but walking away from my job felt impossible. This place was my hard-earned sanctuary, yet here I was, filled with regret. I took a deep breath and opened my eyes, staring at my reflection in the mirror. My eyes shimmered with unshed tears, and I felt small. Suddenly, I realized that I had hit my lowest point. I could choose to allow fear to keep me silent, or I could rise from this moment. I had stood up for myself, even if things hadn't gone as planned. It was time to own my feelings and take responsibility for my actions. The road to moving forward would not be easy, but I was determined not to be defined by this moment. It would be the starting point for my next step. As I stood in front of the mirror, I could hardly recognize myself. Tears threatened to spill, but I fought them back. I needed to think clearly. This was my moment of truth. I had just let my emotions spill over, and a small part of me felt embarrassed, but another part felt a spark of truth. I hadn't lied, I had expressed how Jake's behavior hurt me, even if it felt chaotic. I recalled Emma's kind words from earlier. She believed in me, and in this stressful moment, I thought of my friend as a shield, a reminder that I was not alone. I took a deep breath, seeking strength from her support. The burden of sadness lifted a bit as I remembered my past struggles. I had faced many challenges and learned from them. This moment was another chance for growth. I splashed water on my face and looked closely at my reflection again. My eyes held determination. I realized that if I continued to stay quiet, things would not change. If I allowed Jake's cruel comments to win, I would stay trapped in a cycle of fear. Gathering my courage, I straightened my back. I was not only fighting for myself, I was also standing against workplace bullying, hoping others would see they could speak up too. I decided to talk to Ms. Richards again. She had always seemed fair, and perhaps she would listen if I explained my feelings about Jake. I wanted to share the impact of his words on me and how they clouded my work. With each step toward her office, I felt the tension in my shoulders ease slightly. This was my chance to take back control, to assert my right to a respectful workplace. Knocking on her door, I heard Ms. Richards say, "Come in." As I entered, my heart raced. She looked up from her desk, surprised to see me. "Jessica, is everything all right?" she asked, concern showing on her face. The moment felt vulnerable, but I took a deep breath and started telling her everything. I explained how Jake's comments had affected my confidence and how they made it hard for me to work. As I spoke, my voice grew stronger. I realized I was reclaiming my story. Ms. Richards listened carefully, nodding. "Thank you for telling me this, Jessica," she said genuinely. "It takes courage to speak out, and I appreciate you trusting me." Her words filled me with a newfound hope, and I could feel the air in the room shift. "Let's address this," she continued. "You deserve to work in a safe environment." Her support felt like a warm blanket enveloping me. I had chosen to stand up, and now I could see a path forward. I wasn't just complaining, I was an advocate for myself and others who might feel the same way. Leaving her office, I felt lighter, empowered. I had taken a step toward change, and it felt exhilarating. I understood now that I had the power to create the workplace I desired. Although fears still lingered, I knew that facing them was part of my journey. I vowed to be brave, to learn, and to continue speaking my truth. Hope flickered in my heart, lighting the path ahead. The weight of worry had shifted, and now I was ready for whatever challenge awaited me next. This moment marked the turning point in my story, paving the way for brighter days ahead. Falling action. After my conversation with Ms. Richards, a sense of calm filled me. I walked back to my desk, feeling both light and strong. I had taken control of my situation. I was beginning to realize that I did not have to face this alone, and that gave me courage. I reflected on the support I had received. With the backing of someone like Ms. Richards, I felt I was not only able to confront Jake, but I could also influence the culture around me. Days passed, and I continued to share my thoughts with my team. I was now more careful and more clear when expressing myself. When I had ideas, I spoke with confidence. I noticed my colleagues were starting to listen differently. Instead of the old laughter at my expense, I heard nods of understanding and agreement. Even Jake seemed a bit unsure of himself in the face of my new resolve. This made me feel empowered. One afternoon, our team gathered for an important meeting. The project I worked on was now taking shape, and everyone seemed excited. We reviewed each part of the plan, and as I presented, the words flowed easily. I saw the faces of my colleagues light up, showing support for the work. I smiled. As I ended my presentation, I felt the energy in the room. It was warm and positive, a complete change from before. After the meeting, Jake approached me. For the first time, he looked unsettled. "I think your ideas may actually work," he said hesitantly. I raised an eyebrow, taken aback. I had expected more sarcasm from him after my prior challenges with him. However, I stayed calm. "Thank you, Jake. I'm glad you see the value in them." I could feel my heart racing, but I stood tall. Speaking to Jake was nerve-wracking, but my new determination was stronger than my fear. Just as I hoped, this moment gave me fresh energy. It showed me that I could change the dialogue, even with the toughest person on the team. With each new day, I felt more empowered. I connected with my colleagues, sharing ideas, approaches, and helping each other overcome challenges. The teamwork flourished, creating an environment I always needed. As I took in the support from my teammates, my confidence grew even more. My heart bloomed with hope. Outside of work, I discussed my experiences with Emma. I shared how I had grown and what I had learned through the struggles. "You were brave, Jessica. You stood up for yourself, and now you have a team that believes in you," she said with excitement. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and it made me think. Each new opportunity for connection would help build a better workplace. As I continued to embrace this shift in my life, I realized I was responsible for steering my path. I chose to focus on my strengths and learn from setbacks. Challenges would come, but now I would face them with confidence. The pain of the past began to fade, replaced by a vibrant space for growth and transformation. I had a vision for my future at work, and it was bright. With determination deep in my heart, I knew that I could succeed. I saw the positive changes happening around me and began to nurture my development, pushing forward with newfound strength. The journey I had taken was powerful, and it became a source of inspiration. I recognized that I was on a road to become the confident person I had always dreamed of being. I felt the change inside me as I faced my days with more courage. As I grew stronger, I also realized the importance of setting clear boundaries. I had let Jake's words slide for too long. No longer could I ignore his bullying, nor could I allow my fear to silence me. I needed to protect my mental space and allow myself to thrive. One afternoon, as I worked on a report, Jake made another one of his sharp comments. "Are you going to spend all day on that boring project? You should stick to the easy tasks, Jessica." I felt the heat rise in my cheeks. Old Jessica might have buried her head in her hands and stayed silent, but the new me wouldn't accept this treatment any longer. I took a deep breath and looked him in the eye. "I work hard, Jake. I think everyone deserves respect. I will not let you belittle me." His face twisted in surprise, and I knew my words shocked him. The other colleagues stopped talking and stared. I could feel my heart racing, but there was a mix of fear and excitement. I had spoken out, and it felt powerful. Jake, taken aback, didn't say anything. The silence was heavy, but I hoped it would hold my groundbreaking moment of change. I turned away, feeling lighter. Later that day, I spoke to Ms. Richards again, more confident this time. "I want to report Jake's behavior," I told her firmly. "It affects not only me but the whole team. We need to create a better working environment." Ms. Richards listened, her expression serious. "I appreciate you bringing this to my attention, Jessica. We need to ensure everyone feels safe and respected." Her support reassured me. She promised to investigate the matter. It felt good to know I was taking an important step for both myself and my team. As I went back to my desk, I noticed a shift in my colleagues. Some gave me nods of encouragement, while others seemed surprised. I sensed a new level of respect forming. I was no longer just the quiet assistant, I was becoming a voice for change in our workplace. Days turned into weeks, and I continued to stand firm against negativity. Whenever Jake tried to undermine my work, I would calmly respond. "Let's focus on our goals instead of tearing each other down." While he appeared annoyed, I felt empowered. His attempts at bullying began to lose their power, and I knew I had created a barrier that protected me. Still, I understood that not everyone would instantly embrace this change. There were a few colleagues who questioned me. "Why are you making such a big deal, Jessica?" they would say, confused by my transformation. A part of me felt frustrated, but I reminded myself that change was hard for many. It hadn't come easy for me either. With time, I learned to stay firm in my resolve. I kept practicing my new mindset each day. I found myself helping others who were quiet, encouraging them to speak up too. I wanted to build a team where everyone felt valued. I understood that setting boundaries was not just about confronting negativity, it was also about nurturing a culture of support. The road was still challenging, but I could see bright changes on the horizon. As I strengthened my resolve, I felt a deeper connection developing with my teammates. We began collaborating more closely, sharing ideas without fear, and beginning to truly trust one another. Just like that, a small light of hope flickered even brighter, guiding me toward the completion of my journey. As the weeks went by, I continued to focus on my growth and the changes around me. Every day, I felt stronger standing up for myself. I noticed how my actions began to inspire others. Small victories started to shine bright against the shadows of doubt that had once surrounded me. I felt a sense of calm wash over me, knowing I was taking control of my path. One Friday afternoon, we faced a tough deadline for our project. Tension grew as we raced against the clock. Everyone seemed to be feeling the pressure. Jake was unusually quiet, but the vibes in the office felt different. My team was coming together. I sensed a spirit of unity rising, as if everyone was determined to support one another. While working on a complicated section of the project, I felt someone tap on my shoulder. It was Liam, a quieter colleague who used to avoid conversations with Jake. "Hey, Jessica," he said. "I really admire what you've done. You've changed the way we talk about ideas here." My heart swelled at his words. "Thank you, Liam. It's taken a lot of work to get here," I replied. In that moment, I saw the power of standing up. Feeling brave was contagious. Suddenly, Liam continued, "I think more people should speak up too. I want to share an idea I have for the project. Can we discuss it?" My heart raced with excitement. This was the transformation I had hoped for. People were starting to feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and taking risks. After a quick discussion, Liam and I pooled our ideas and came up with a plan that combined our strengths. We stayed late, diligently working together to make our project shine. The feeling of teamwork and collaboration filled my heart with joy. It was more than just achieving a work goal. It represented true growth and a wonderful community. After a long day, we presented our combined efforts to Ms. Richards. I felt proud as we shared our ideas. Watching her nod and listen attentively made my pulse quicken. When we finished, she smiled. "This is excellent work, Jessica and Liam. You two have shown great collaboration. I'm thrilled with the direction this project is taking." Cheers erupted among our colleagues, filling the room with joy. In that moment, I felt like I had achieved something meaningful. I was not just a part of the team, I had become a leader. I saw the support around me, not only from my supervisor but also from my coworkers. It was a small win, but it solidified my growth and showed that all the work I had put into changing the conversation paid off. With every shared success, my confidence grew. I realized that change could happen, not just for me, but for everyone willing to take a stand. I focused on the positive relationships I was building, and a wave of peace filled my heart. As I left the office that evening, I felt lighter and happier than I had in months. I wanted to share my experience with Emma and focus on how we continued to seek growth. I understood that boundaries led to a better space, where everyone felt safe to express themselves. As I walked down the street, I could see my future glowing bright ahead. This is what I had wanted, a workplace where support flourishes and ideas bloom. I smiled, knowing that this was only the beginning of my journey. Self-empowerment and resilience had led me to this moment, and I was excited to continue my path. Resolution. As I settled into my routine after that successful project, a sense of lightness surrounded me. The weight of fear that had once anchored me to my desk began to ease. I had faced my insecurities and fought back against negativity. Each day, I noticed myself becoming stronger and more assertive. But it wasn't just about fighting against Jake anymore. I was starting to understand the greater importance of my well-being. With each passing week, my confidence continued to blossom. I made it a goal to develop my skills further. I signed up for a workshop on leadership at work, something I had dreamed about. The thought excited me. I wanted to know how to be a better team player, so I could lift others as I had discovered how to lift myself. I began thinking big, hoping for a promotion and taking ownership of my career. One morning, as I enjoyed coffee with Emma, I shared my thoughts. You know, I no longer want to just get by in my job. I want to thrive, I expressed with a smile. Emma nodded, eyes sparkling. That's amazing, Jessica. You've come so far. You deserve to be happy at work. Those words warmed my heart. I realized that my worth was not based on others' opinions. I alone was responsible for my happiness. As the weeks continued, an important moment arrived. During a group meeting, Ms. Richards announced that we were looking to fill a new management position. My heart raced, and my mind jumped back to my fears from the past. The road to leadership felt challenging, but instead of retreating, I felt a wave of excitement. I wanted to go for it. After the meeting, I approached Ms. Richards. I'd like to apply for the management position. My voice was firm, and I could see the surprise on her face, mixed with pride. I believe I can inspire and support our team, I added, hoping to convey my passion. Ms. Richards smiled. I am glad to hear that, Jessica. Your growth has been impressive, and I'd love to see you take this step. Show what you have to offer. I returned to my desk, my heart pounding with hope. This decision was not just about career advancement, it represented everything I had learned about my strength and resilience. I wasn't going to live in the shadows anymore. I was ready to embrace change, no matter how difficult it felt. The toxic environment Jake had created slowly began to fade with my inner transformation. Around me, the workplace atmosphere lightened as more conversations took place, collaboration flourished, and support surrounded us. I knew that confronting my own fears had helped others in return. Together, we built a positive space, encouraging each other's success and growth. As I prepared my application and began to gather my thoughts for the interview, I felt a sense of clarity. I could see my dreams. They were not just distant stars anymore, but possible paths I could walk. I dreamed of leading a team that valued kindness and open communication. I wanted everyone to feel respected and inspired. Looking back, I could see how far I had come. I was no longer that quiet girl afraid to speak up. I was empowered, ready to pursue my goals. The change within me was evident, and with each step forward, I grew more confident. I knew I was on a journey toward meaningful success, and I could create an environment where everyone could shine his or her light. It was clear to me that this was just the beginning of a fulfilling adventure ahead. As I stepped into the office on the day of my interview for the management position, I felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. My dreams of leadership were finally becoming real. I had worked hard not just for this moment but also for everything I had learned in the past months. Every challenge had shaped me into who I was now. I knew that this new chapter was just the beginning. The interview process was intense, but I embraced it. I talked about my experiences and how I planned to create a positive atmosphere for the team. I wanted to lead by example, ensuring everyone felt valued. Ms. Richards listened carefully, and I could see the approval in her eyes. She asked me thought-provoking questions, pushing me to reflect on what kind of leader I wanted to be. I stayed focused and expressed my desire to nurture an open and supportive environment. After the interviews ended, I returned to my desk, my heart full of hope. The waiting felt like an eternity, but I refused to let anxiety creep in. Instead, I poured my energy into my work, collaborating with my team. I wanted to strengthen our connections and boost everyone's spirits before the results arrived. A few days later, I received the call that changed my life. "Jessica, we were impressed by your vision. We would like to offer you the management position," Ms. Richards said. I could hardly believe my ears. Tears filled my eyes with joy. "Thank you so much." "I won't let you down," I replied, my heart racing. With my new title, I felt a sense of responsibility but also excitement. My journey taught me that being a good leader means inspiring others to share their ideas and stand strong. I spent time with my team, learning more about their strengths and goals. I organized team meetings, encouraging everyone to speak and collaborate without fear. I felt the energy in the room shift positively, and I rejoiced in seeing others find their voices just as I had. As I embraced my role, I made a habit of seeking feedback. I encouraged my teammates to share their thoughts after every meeting. This openness reinforced trust and relationships, making our workplace even more supportive. I wanted everyone to succeed alongside me, reminding them that we were stronger together. Beyond work, my mindset began to shift further. I committed to personal growth outside of the office. I joined a local book club to expand my knowledge and met a coach who helped me establish better daily habits. Meditation became part of my routine, allowing me to clear my mind and stay focused. Looking ahead, I saw a future filled with possibilities. I planned to seek even bigger challenges, perhaps training to become a mentor. I envisioned sharing my experiences and insights with others. I wanted to help women in the workplace find their voices and learn to navigate challenges bravely.